The simplicity and tolerance found in Islam led this Catholic priest to abandon his previous faith and become Muslim. To put it another way, this priest converted to Islam after watching the funeral of a famous Muslim king. What did he really see, and why was it so significant for him? Well, we'll explain everything in this video. In fact, the light of Islam can come to anyone and anywhere according to the will of Allah. That's what happened to an Italian Catholic priest whose life changed in a matter of seconds and decided to become Muslim after being amazed by the funeral of King Fahd bin Abdulaziz of Saudi Arabia. King Fahd was buried in Al-Oud Cemetery the day after his death in 2005 after a solemn funeral ceremony attended by world leaders. For years, the priest had been an enthusiastic researcher of world religions and used to debate with Muslim preachers about the Quran and the Bible. Muslim preachers had tried everything for 15 years to get him to accept Islam. They used to give him Islamic books and tapes, but the priest never accepted to convert. But everything changed when the priest watched King Fahd's funeral on TV, during which he noticed an extraordinary modesty and simplicity. The concept of modesty in Islamic burial practices is both profound and compelling, reflecting the deep spiritual values that shape the lives of Muslims worldwide. This was powerfully illustrated during the burial of King Fahd, where the priest made 3 striking discoveries. First, he was astonished to find that no coffin was used, a sharp contrast to what he expected for someone of such high status. Instead of using a luxurious coffin, the king's body was laid directly in the grave and covered with earth, underscoring the Islamic principle that all humans return to the earth in the same humble manner, regardless of worldly rank. Second, there were no lavish garments, royal symbols, or ornaments accompanying the deceased. The king was simply wrapped in a plain white shroud, just as any ordinary Muslim would be. This simplicity deeply moved the priest, as it emphasized the equality of all souls before God and the rejection of materialism, even in death. Third, he noticed the complete absence of titles, honors, or praise during the funeral rites. The attendees focused instead on prayers, humility, and asking for God's mercy on the soul of the deceased. For the priest, this was perhaps the most powerful realization that in Islam, the moment of death strips away all status, and what remains is the individual's relationship with their Creator. Curious to know whether the king's burial was an exception, he decided to observe how ordinary Muslims are laid to rest. After watching numerous videos from different parts of the world, he was struck by a powerful truth. The funeral rites were the same for all Muslims, regardless of their social status. There was no distinction between the grave of a prominent leader and that of a common citizen. In death, all were treated with the same dignity, humility, and simplicity. Deeply moved by what he had observed, the priest went to see one of the Muslim preachers he had often spoken with. He told him everything he had seen and asked, "How can such a powerful figure be buried no differently than an ordinary person?" The preacher gently explained Islam's emphasis on humility, equality, and simplicity in both life and death. To support his point, he quoted a verse from the Quran where Allah says, "O mankind, indeed we have created you from a male and a female, and made you into peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you." After this profound conversation, the priest took time to reflect on everything he had heard and all he had studied about Islam over the past 15 years. At last, the truth was clear to him. There was no doubt in his heart that Islam is the true path. Overcome with emotion, he wept as he recited the Shahada, grieving the years he had spent in ignorance. Following his conversion, he expressed a deep conviction that King Fahd's simple and dignified funeral could open the eyes of many who misunderstand Islam. He called on Muslim scholars and media outlets to emphasize Islam's values of tolerance and equality to help draw more hearts toward the faith. "I will dedicate the rest of my life to spreading Islam," declared the 62-year-old former priest. "Thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum."